was afraid I couldn't live up to these expectations.
I got loyalty inside my DNA.
Thank you for joining us for another movie Lingo discussion. I'm Eddie Lingo, and on this episode I want to talk to you about Creed 2, starring Michael B. Jordan and Sylvester Stallone. Now, this is a highly anticipated sequel in the franchise. Creed 2 was actually directed by Stephen Cappell Jr. This highly anticipated sequel had really big shoes to fill, much like Creed when it was released. It had to really go hard to separate itself from just feeling like another Rocky film, and they successfully did that, even though the Rocky character played by Sylvester Stallone was heavily involved. Creed 2, with the success of Creed, had big shoes to fill yet again. Even though we all knew a sequel was coming, it's still, how well Creed was done, especially being done with a different director, there were big shoes to fill. It's just, like I said, highly anticipated. The synopsis, actually, unfortunately, is just basically reliving Rocky 4. It's almost like a Rocky 4 remake. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. The story was good. The movie was exciting, and they brought back a lot of characters. They brought back Dolph Lundgren, who played Ivan Drago, and now we have a new character, Victor Drago, who was played by a gentleman named Florian Montaneo. They also brought back Robert Balboa, who was Rocky's son. We saw him in another film played by a gentleman whose name I will not butcher. But this guy, I call him Peter Petrelli because I remember him from, that's the character he played on Heroes. So unfortunately for him, whenever I see him, I'm like, hey, it's Peter Petrelli. But yes, they brought him back, and then they also brought back Ludmilla Drago, who is Ivan Drago's wife, who in Rocky 4 was played by Brigitte Nielsen, or Nelson. And her character is actually very important to the emotion and the arc of the story. But like I was saying before, this film literally feels like a Rocky 4 remake. But what saves it, what makes it not so, is that, like most remakes, when remakes happen, they sometimes try to not acknowledge the origin. But this was written well enough where it definitely played out like a sequel as opposed to a remake. Because they made sure they included all of the elements from Rocky 4 to help lay down their story. So the story actually, it worked out well, but just there were moments where I just felt like I was watching the same movie. This story already is highly, highly predictable. We knew that there was no way Creed was going to lose. And when he fought him early on without Rocky, we knew that was going to be a bad idea. What I did like is that they didn't have him actually outright lose the belt, because realistically, Victor Drago would have no reason to give him a rematch with the way he destroyed him. There was no reason he would waste his time, because he wasn't doing this for money. His father may have been doing it for money and credibility in Russia to get their lives back, but Victor Drago he just wanted to win no matter what, no matter who you put in front of him. So I'm glad they didn't have it where Creed actually lost the belt and now he was fighting to get it back, because I don't believe he would have been realistically, he wouldn't have been given a rematch. So when they had a disqualification and the process he went through, now that part of the writing was actually very good to me, because, it on a technicality, he kept his belt, but he still didn't actually earn the right. He didn't defend it. So that was weighing on him. And then the way he was broken in the ring, it was all weighing on him. And he was actually taking forever to get back to it. And I liked that writing. I felt it was very strong. But everything else about the story just really felt like Rocky 4. The execution of the fight scenes are actually very good. They did the first person camera, which I appreciated, because a lot of times when we're watching someone fight and they're saying get out of the corner, get off the ropes, or things of that nature, we're saying the same thing. We're seeing all these punches coming, wishing he would move. We're ducking in our seats. But when you see it from the first person view, when he gets hit hard and he ends up being, his vision is thrown one way, by the time he can respond or at least gather himself, another punch is coming. So it's not as easy as it looks from the outside looking in. On the inside, you're able to see that the reason he's not having enough time to react is, the way the punches are affecting him and stunning him. And I thought that was cool. The choreography and everything was good. All of the training moments, building back up, the story was good. I really enjoyed all the acting, phenomenal. The only thing that bothered me about the boxing was that the last fight, since they were going so hard following that Rocky IV formula, I really felt like Creed should have been really working down Victor Drago to the point where you actually thought his life was in danger, because I don't believe that Ivan Drago, Dolph Lundgren, after 33 years of wanting this and being so close, would have actually thrown in the towel on his son when that whooping wasn't really that bad. Like when you watch Rocky IV and he's following even Drago across the ring and just keeps slugging him and almost basically hitting him as he's going down. You saw that defeat. This one, yeah, he was getting worked in the corner and he wasn't going to quit. He didn't want to quit. But I wish that they would have made it seem like he was in danger of dying in the ring too. That's why he actually, because he cares about his son, threw in the towel, because I didn't feel like the beating was strong enough to throw in the towel. I just don't feel like his character would have quit. So that actually kind of lowered my rating a little bit. It just didn't seem believable after 33 years of holding a grudge. And, if he was willing to beat a man to death 33 years ago, kill a man in the ring, I think he'd be willing to die in the ring too. Granted, it wasn't him, it was his son, but I would have rather his son been in a more of a threatening situation to make that believable that he threw in the towel. Anyway, after all of that, I know it sounds like that I don't like the movie, but I actually I love this movie. I felt like they paid all the right tributes. I felt like the story made sense on why people made the decisions that they made. All the beef. Unfortunately, it was just highly predictable, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't a good movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So if I have to rate it, my overall movie lingo rating would be a 9 out of 10. And I know a lot of you are probably spitting up your drink or throwing stuff at the whatever device you're listening on, because that's too high. But being a different director, all the tributes to Rocky IV, and still keeping me, despite it being predictable, still making those fights seem very intense and drawing me in. I think this did an excellent job, and I'm very glad that I watched it. Hit me up, but let me know your thoughts, your rating, if you agree, disagree. I'm curious to know. But I'm going to give this official Movie Lingo rating for Creed 2 is a 9 out of 10. Well, thank you for joining me for another Movie Lingo discussion. I'm Eddie Lingo, and we'll see you on the next one.
It may not seem like it now, but this is more than just a fight.
Loyalty. I got loyalty inside my DNA.